we have to be a generation that goes from consumers to contributors. So if you're just going to everything, all you're doing is consuming. So, my wife, Summer, her grandfather was a pastor his whole life. He's now retired. I mean, he knows I'm a pastor. And so he actually gave me all of his books. And it's
That's an
been a
inheritance.
crazy, oh my gosh, it's been beautiful to read through some of the books that he read, in the 70s and 80s and things like that. I didn't realize pastoral books in our current time are all based on leadership. Pastoral books in that time were all based on spiritual disciplines. So it's a
Yep.
very big difference.
Hey, everybody, this is Micah with the Young Adults Today podcast. Our amazing and special guest is Pastor Danny Rangel from BT Church down in Texas. And we unpack an amazing conversation about what does it mean to be church hopping and how can we get young adults planted and settled into the church that we are leading, the young adult ministries, and stay connected, whether we have them for 2 months or 10 years. How do we eliminate that church hopping mentality? And he also challenges us as leaders to be readers. So how are we leveling up our leadership and our readership as we continue to pursue spiritual growth, as we pursue healthy boundaries, as we just encourage each other in faith and be encouraged and inspired through the authors that we get to put into our hands as we read those books. So he's going to share and unpack 14 different books that you can read by the end of this year. If you're an avid reader, he teaches us how to do that. But if you're not an avid reader, he also teaches us how to take it as a bite-sized project or challenge. I call it the Wrangle Challenge because I'm going to take this challenge. I don't read a book a month, but I'm going to try my best to do and take his advice as he challenges us as ministry leaders across the globe.
All right, we're rolling. Well, hey, fam, it's Josiah Keneally.
And Micah Keneally.
This is Young Adults Today podcast, and gotta say, welcome back to our guest, Danny Rangel.
Excited to be back, man. Thank you.
Man, well, we are thrilled to have you here. We're going to lead into some fun conversation. But before we even ask the first question, I just have to hear from you the sign in the back that says, "I am not throwing away my shot." What does that mean to you? Is that
That's
next to a
actually
coffee pot? Is this like life not throwing life away? Like, what is it?
it's funny you asked me that. I actually share an office with one of our production director staff members, so that's actually his area.
Oh, his
So
picture shot then.
yeah,
You can interpret that so many
it's
different ways.
100%. It's like his desk is like diagonal to me, so that's like his spot.
It was just a
So
new
actually,
addition to your office. So I was
yeah,
like, hey,
that
I got
is
to ask
true. That
about
is true.
that.
Yeah, last time I recorded, he wasn't. We weren't sharing offices, but yeah, he got hired during that season, and he's a stud, man. So we're like, it's our friendship together has grown so much. It's just cool to have him in here. And so yeah, but yeah, I'll have to ask him that.
So
So that's
And
fun.
funny.
how many of the books are yours?
Those books are all mine. Yeah. So
I knew it.
that's me.
I knew it.
It's
Tell the
just that
truth. It's actually the
that
opposite side
part
of the
is
room.
his. Yeah. And so that's his. Put the sign that way. But yeah, that's
Oh,
all me.
hilarious. Okay, for the
Yeah.
person listening who does have to share an office with an intern, with another coworker, what is it like? Is it like having a brand new roommate? How would you encourage
Oh
them to be
yeah.
the best roommate possible or the best office mate possible?
Oh man,
Teammates.
Teammates.
yeah, it's communication. We actually call this space that we're in. It's upstairs in our church. There's not like a lot of space or offices upstairs, but we're like one of the few, and so we call this place the attic. So like this morning, I texted him. I was like, "Yo, I need the attic from 11:30 to 12:30." And so
For
yeah,
the
just
Young Adults Today
communication.
podcast. Hey,
100%, yeah. But he's a stud, man. He works on production and worship teams, so he does help with young adult worship a lot, and he just has a strong passion for young adults. So that actually helps us a lot because we have like young adult planning meetings in my office, and I tell him like, bro, like you're welcome to like leave for this moment, or I actually would actually love if you stayed and you just provided your input. Because your heart for young adults is incredible, even though like young adults is not as focused of staff ministry. But yeah, so it's cool just to have someone to pick each other's brains and share thoughts when we kind of work in somewhat separate opposites of ministry focuses, but come together with the larger church aspects. So yeah, I hadn't had an office mate in a long time, and so it's been cool to have him. I think it's been like, man, I don't know, a year or two, but
I
yeah, it's been
love it.
great.
amazing.
Well, you're in the attic. You're one floor higher to the Lord.
Hey, that upper room, those upper
Upper
room
room.
vibes.
Hey, the planning goes crazy in here.
Ah,
What about catch us up and the listener, BT Young Adults, McAllen,
Yeah,
Texas, Deep
come
South
on.
Texas, and catch us up on the journey. How, it may have been a couple years since we talk a lot, we're good friends, but
Mhm.
it may have been a while since you've been on the pod. So
Yeah.
catch us up on maybe the 3-year recap and just the 2026 recap of BT Church and BT Young Adults.
It's been crazy. To go back 3 years, well, it's we've a lot has happened in 3 years. But to kind of give more of a recent update, I don't know, 3 years ago was a minute ago, but since then we actually have brought on a staff member, which you know very well, Megan.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's incredible. I think she's been full-time staff with us for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Really cool story of like intern, or actually more like volunteer to an intern to a part-time staff member to not full-time. And so just seeing her trajectory has been really cool, and just so vital to our young adult ministry. So she joined our team. Our volunteer team has started to expand. One of the big wins we're celebrating is we actually have more adults in the room serving. We have more like parents and older seasoned, Christians. And so that's been really cool. That's been
Wow.
our prayer. The
Yep.
majority of our dream team, like 90%, are young adults themselves.
Yep.
And so we're like, man, we need like older adults in the room. And so they're just seeing what's happening and they're starting to show up. And so that's been really helpful. But to give like a more recent update, last semester, the fall semester, of 2025, we were invited to do a worship night on the campus of the local university here. It's called University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. It's a pretty large university. I think like 30,000 students or so. D1 program. We
Wow.
have a football team now, all that stuff. Southland Conference. And we have a really good relationship with the BSM on campus, which is the Baptist Student Ministry. They do really cool ministry. We partner alongside them for some certain stuff. But us as BT Young Adults, like we can't go on campus like
Right.
as ourselves.
Right.
We have to be a part of a campus org, and so BSM is the campus org. So we've kind of like done mission projects, outreaches, evangelism through them. But man, they just kind of had this dream of like, what if we got on campus and did a worship night? And they asked us to come alongside and partner with them. Basically, asked us to host it just under their umbrella and their name. And so BT Young Adult Worship Team did worship. The first one I spoke at, and we were just like, man, let's just believe God's gonna do something. Let's just bring a baptistry and let's just see what happens. So we shared the gospel. People responded in faith. In the fall, we had 5 spontaneous baptisms, and that was just a really cool moment. And then after that, we decided let's do this at least once a semester.
Let's go.
So a couple of weeks ago in February, we ran it again. We're like, now this is our spring worship night, and so we had our UTRGV worship night again. Last time we saw 300 students show up. This time it was 500.
Praise
So we
God.
saw 500 college students came on campus to worship Jesus. And I'm one of those where like I don't like to be like this is gonna sound weird, but like overly annoying. Like I don't want to like, man, I feel bad for people who like they don't want to be a part of this, but they're hearing this. Like we took the biggest sound system ever and put it outside. We're like in the parking lot, like a mile away, you can hear the music. And it was like one of those like, man, is this too loud? But it's like, no, this is be loud for Jesus. It'll be fine. And we got some really cool responses on social media from like people were like, man, I heard like worship music, and people saw that and like sent it to us. But yeah, we saw 500 students show up this time. Our associate pastor, Pastor Nick, he brought the word and preached the gospel. We had 25 baptisms. We had
Let's
2
go.
planned, and
Let's go.
23 were spontaneous, and it was just crazy to see the response. We had a team of people like conversing with those
Yep.
responding before they got baptized. It was just a really cool, like amazing Jesus moment that we got to see, man. And so that was cool. So now our prayer is that we're going to do this every semester. BSM has asked us to come alongside them, be a part of it. So BT Young Adult Campus Takeover, man, is kind of what's happening. So that was a cool moment, big celebration. And then the other celebration is we have young adults on Tuesday nights. Worship service, and at the timing of this podcast, it's Wednesday morning that we're recording. But last night was the first time that we eclipsed 300 young adults on a
Praise
Tuesday
God.
night service. We've been praying for that for a while.
Wow.
We've just seen numbers and numbers kind of start growing for us. Before this current semester, at the start of the year in January, we're probably averaging about 180.
Hmm.
And so we've just seen like a pretty quick growth this past semester. But yeah, last night our total number was 318. And when our dream teamer, we have a dream teamer who just counts every Tuesday. He sent me the text, and I was like, "Whoa, like that's crazy! Like we finally kind of got that goal." And so it's just cool to see how God's moving. Yeah, it's been a fun semester for sure.
Amazing. I got to jump in and just highlight something that you said, Danny, and it's this, you know, you're a young adult pastor, you're on a team at a local church, and you guys have a heart for the college campus,
Yeah.
really the college student. And the campus ministry exists, probably to quote John Piper, because worship doesn't. And that's why missions
Mm,
exists, is
so
because
good.
worship doesn't. And at the same time, the college campus is not just open access,
No.
it's accessible to the students. So for the person listening who has a heart for the college campus, your person of peace, you almost need to view it as a foreign missionary. Like, you need a person of peace, aka a student, which they have a
Yes.
student organization. And then, okay, we're a young adult ministry. How do we get on the college campus? Well, there's a campus ministry already there. So this is like a kingdom collaboration,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
kingdom partnership. And man, that's beautiful. That's the kingdom right there. And what a win for the college student who gets saved, spontaneously water baptized. And once a semester, they're getting kind of a nod and a callback of like, hey, upon graduation, you know what? Friendship looks different on this campus.
Yeah.
But now I know if I'm in this area of a church, and
Yeah.
maybe I move to San Antonio or Houston or Dallas or Minnesota or Montana,
Hey,
but there are churches there too. And
come on.
so
Yeah.
it is a beautiful thing. What you just said there is wow. And I want to ask you this, Danny, like, when I'm thinking about, or when Mike and I, when we feel called to like launch a local young adult ministry, you were one of the calls, and we were processing that a
Let's
while
go.
ago. And we're a
Yeah.
part of the journey. And I think that's so important too, is to have people that are safe places to process and to pick
Hmm.
each other's brain. And what about, okay, so 3 years ago, were you guys still meeting monthly, or was it every
Three
other
years
month?
ago, I think, man, I'm trying to think back. I think it was in 2023, the fall of 2023, that we made the decision to move to weekly services.
Whoa.
I want to say that's right. So before that, we were meeting every other Tuesday, right? And that was at the start of 2021. BT Young Adults, to kind of recap that part, we started in 2021. And it was just like coming off the pandemic. We just decided to get college students together, start a Bible study.
And you saw
Um,
a need, and it wasn't
yeah,
even your staff role, but
no, yeah,
you helped
yeah.
serve that
For
need.
It was in my staff role for about 2 years. Myself and another pastor on staff and one of our worship leaders on staff, who we all had different roles, decided to come together and start the young adult ministry. And so it was a pretty cool to just see that collaboration, to bring about some prevention of burnout for us,
Yeah,
because it was in our
totally.
staff role. We decided to like spread out teaching. Let's create a teaching team so the burden's not on one person. Let's also meet a little bit more sporadic. And so we decided every other Tuesday night. Part of it was like we still want to push young adults to Sundays, so they already
Yes.
had a weekly service
Yeah.
experience. But we wanted to connect with them together. We thought once a month was like that's not enough. If you're deciding to start a young adult ministry and you want to meet every other week, it sounds cool because it's like, oh, that's a cool rhythm, but it's also really, really hard for promotion. It's
Yeah.
like, is tonight young adults or next Tuesday? And like it's really hard. Really confusing. One time we had an idea of making, like, you ever been to like a concert and they have like the concert tour shirt with
Yep.
like all the dates on the back?
Yep.
We did that. We created a BT Young Adult shirt with all the dates of the
I
spring
love it.
semester, and we
I love
sold
it.
that at the beginning of the year. It's like, now just read the back of your shirt.
Read the calendar.
Um, and so yeah, no, Young Adults don't read calendar. That's okay. But yeah,
Merchify it.
so
You needed to
it's
merchify it.
100%. And so as we started growing, and as like our church saw the growth of the ministry, it kind of became an official ministry, BT Young Adults. And my dream was always that BT would staff this ministry, whether it was myself or somebody else. I really didn't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
But then just kind of spearheading it, our lead pastor asked me to do it, and I was like thrilled. And so I believe that was 2023. I want to say going into 2024 that I finally like kind of became that as my main role. And then from that point, I think we stayed for just a little bit, like maybe one more semester of every other week. And then as our dream team grew, we decided let's meet every week. And that was a really cool challenge that I got from some young adult ministry friends. And we don't need to go into like that world right now, unless you guys want to. But just to speak quickly, young adults, I say they're kingdom minded, but some of them lack local church commitment. They go to everything that every
That's good.
church is doing, which is really cool. But then it's like, man, what church do you go to? It's like, well, I go here Mondays and here Tuesdays and here Thursdays. And I kind of struggled with that a little bit. And at a retreat, one of the Think Media retreats, we're doing a young adult breakout, and I just asked the question like, does anybody else deal with this, and how would y'all like kind of alleviate that? And somebody said, well, how often do y'all meet? And I said, every other week. And he said, meet weekly, and now you're making them decide to commit to your church. I was like, whoa, like okay, cool. And we literally made that adjustment, and then we've seen local church commitment, which has been really cool. So that was kind of like a push and a motivation for us.
I gotta camp there for a second because you expected, or like sometimes lead pastors are like, hey, you can meet monthly or every other week because we still want them to be a part of the church on Sundays. But
Yeah,
young adults are built different in
Yeah.
this
yeah.
generation. And there is a lot of bebopping and church hopping and shopping going on, and they are
Yeah.
kingdom minded to what you're saying, but you actually saw that when you went weekly, their buy-in went up to the local church.
And I think it kind of like it adjusts a little bit to where we had like a small downslope for like a couple of weeks, but then we just saw like boom growth. It felt scary to make that decision, honestly. But I was like, nah, it's time. And part of it too is like the context of our church is we love to raise the next generation of teachers. So
Yeah.
we love to share the platform.
Yes.
That's one of our big things. Like I don't teach every Tuesday night, even at this point. And so we have a like last night, one of our young adults brought the word, and it was powerful. It was his first time actually doing it. And so we raise the next generation of teachers. But when we were doing that at every other week, I mean, as the young adult pastor, I would go like 2 months without teaching sometimes. And that kind of felt weird because I do love teaching. And it also felt weird to do like sermon series. Like it kind of felt like too stretched and too long. So we wanted to bring in more concentrated content, allow more people to have the platform. And so, yeah, just moving to weekly kind of helped us do a lot of those things. But we always push Sundays. Every sermon series we do on a Sunday morning, we push it to young adults. Serving on a dream team on Sunday mornings, we push that to young adults. Just being a part of that. I mean, I even go as far as telling our young adults like, if you only have a 2 hour window of attending church, I would rather you go to Sunday mornings than Tuesday nights because you're going to have diversity in that room, and we don't have diversity in this room, and so you're more a part of the body of Christ. So I would rather you choose Sundays, but I want you to come to both. but
Right.
Yeah.
we push Sundays more than Tuesdays a lot too.
What else would you say, Micah, Danny, to the young adult who is attending everything that is Christian or Jesus on their college campus,
Yeah,
in their community? Um, or like, yeah, how do you have those conversations? What does that look
yeah.
like?
We did a series last year called "This Is the Church," kind of a walk through the Book of Acts, the start of the church, and then like we wanted to do this is like the history of the church, and now this is our church, like BT Church. It essentially became like a church membership class without like an actual like certificate at the end.
Yeah.
We just wanted to like show our young adults this is who BT Church is. And so we walked through the Book of Acts, and then we kind of spent a couple of weeks on like this is who BT Church is. And the big push there was we have to be a generation that goes from consumers to contributors. So if you're just going to everything, all you're doing is consuming. And I have like personally challenged like young adults who like they're committed and they actually became members to our church. And like, just to say this, like when I've seen them on their Instagram at different churches, I'm like, bro, like I hope you're edified and that's really great. But what if like rather than going there on a Monday night, you actually start a young adult small group for us on a Monday night?
Yeah.
That way you're now using the content that you have learned in your spiritual growth to now share that with others, which is obviously the process of making disciples. But you have to go from being consumers to contributors. So we wanted to contribute to the mission of the gospel here, and just take a step back from just constant consuming. Still find community. I think a lot of young adults like they're just friends with each other, which is really healthy. Like I said, but what if you actually now serving, not just consuming, is our really big push throughout that series.
Did you feel any pushback from young adults when you share that from the pulpit? Like, if I were to say, is like unpack and stay a while. Like, if you're a
Mm,
student at the local campus of whatever school you're going to, and you're here for 4 years and you know it,
mhm.
then get plugged in, take root, like start
Yeah.
tithing here, go through membership, start serving, be a part of the young adults, be a part of a connect group or Bible study or whatever you call them in your location. What was the overall reaction to like your leadership team, or what expectations do you have for your leadership team when you're in those pivotal moments of scaling and sustaining
Hmm.
and pointing people to that consumer mindset, getting out of that consumer mindset into the contributor mindset. Does that make sense?
I Yeah, I do think young adults like love to be challenged in that way.
Yes.
And we like even how we structure our sermon points, it's kind of like a challenge of that. And you can like, I mean, and they're like a loud room, like they're not like, like they're not like amening, but they're like they'll like clap or they'll say something or they'll like react to a point. We felt the weight of the room in that challenge of consumer to contributor. And I just think it kind of like woke them up. We saw our dream team kind of increase in that. And then we also like we want to find practical ways to help them plug in, like not just say sign up to serve, but like
Mm-hmm.
how are you figuring out how God has designed and wired you to do that? And so much of this, just to shout out Think Media again. I've been at retreats and conferences where like we've done a spiritual gift assessment, personality type testing, culture index, where I have figured out how God has wired me, and that's been so beneficial to me. So during that series, we actually had all of our young adults take a spiritual gift assessment. We promoted it for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then one session was us breaking down the different spiritual gifts. And so saying like, all right, if this is your gift, if your gift is evangelistic, this is how you can serve at our church right now. If your gift is prophetic, this is how you can use that gift at our church right now. And so we helped them see how they're wired, and then we showed them a tangible way they can serve in the church. And that has been like, okay, cool. Like now I know where I can go. And it's just a little bit easier than
Mm-hmm.
just like going on stage. Who wants to be on the parking lot team? No one's really going to say yes to that. But if you're like, man, you're evangelistic, you're high energy, like, can you serve on the parking lot team? Like, if it's more of a one-on-one conversation based on what they now know of themselves, it's more likely that they'll say yes. And so we had them take the spiritual gift assessment and we had them email us the results. And so Megan and I kind of organized a whole like Excel sheet. So now we're trying to pinpoint where people can serve based on that. And it's been pretty fruitful for us.
So good.
Incredible. You know, sometimes the best moments on the Young Adults Today podcast are when you have a little bit of the questions
Oh,
that
I
we
get script
haven't
all the
even
time.
touched.
I know. That's why I was like, I don't know if we want to go there, but we can.
No,
And
it's
I'm
good.
so
Yeah.
glad
You were
because
selfishly asking. That's the
no,
season I'm in.
the reason I camped there, Danny, is I have this conversation a lot in our city, in our community,
Yeah.
and just with young adult ministry leaders. And I don't want to, like Ron Starling opened my eyes on
Hmm.
this podcast. He was kind of the first person who called it a positive when you have
Mm.
young adults who are like consuming all this content and they're like their desire, their heartbeat, their posture is
Yeah.
actually like, I want to grow. And he's like, you probably can't be with them 7 days a week. So they might as well, like, why not find some podcasts and some worship
Yeah, for
and
sure.
edify and grow. But I think that there is such a long-term benefit I've experienced, Danny, in my own life of being rooted, anchored,
Mhm.
established, built up, like Colossians says,
Yeah,
in the
that's
faith. And
good.
part of that is sinking some roots into a local church
Come
where
on.
I found accountability, where I found community, where I found mentors, where I actually met a future spouse. And,
Amen.
like to have those relationships, Danny, where would my life be without, like, if I had just gone to everything and had a lot of acquaintances and not as many deep,
Yeah.
accountable relationships and community? Where would I be if I had never drilled down with mentors or,
Yeah.
just, I just, so why I have that conversation and camp there a while is because that's my heart. And I believe it's God's heart as I read Acts. This is the church. Man, it seems like they were devoted. It
Yes.
seems like they were
Mhm.
meeting deeply and ministering to the needs in their community. They were a whole bunch of on mission spiritual contributors, not just consumers.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so that's the heart that I have is for lead pastors, young adult pastors, young adults, college students, a generation, is that they might experience the goodness of God and contribute and find the joy in discovering and deploying and
Yeah.
developing the gifts that they have.
Mhm.
Man, I don't want to extend this too long, but one thing I do want to point out that I have like I don't know if it's a fear yet, but maybe more like a worry. is like obviously like with the idea of Sabbath, you want to get away, things like that. But one thing I am seeing like amongst ministry leaders is or even like volunteers, and some of this has been like some of the conversations and challenges I've seen is when I see they're somewhere else worshiping, it's like, man, I wanted to go somewhere else just to like encounter Jesus and worship and be filled back up. Which again, great. Like that's the kingdom of God. This is the church, all that stuff. But I'm like, how do we turn off? And I get it. Like they probably go somewhere else to turn off their staff, their leadership hat, to be able to go somewhere where nobody knows them, to where they don't have to feel like they have to serve. But I started wrestling with the question of like, I want them to still come here to be filled up to worship without any reservations, without serving, not have to feel like they have to go somewhere else. And so I started wrestling with that question of like, how do we create a culture where like you don't have to feel like if you're a church staff member, church leader, to have to go somewhere else to be filled back up constantly. Like I get it for like a Sabbath season, like if you take a week Sabbath a year or something like that, like yeah, go do that. But like as a constant rhythm, that felt a little weird to me. And I'm like, man, like sometimes I just want our church to be like, just come and get poured into here. And I know it's hard to take your leadership hat off because other people might see you as a leader, so then they're going to ask you for stuff. And so that's a weird kind of thing that I'm like thinking through right now that I can see as a worry because I like we said like planted and rooted like I always joke around like when the church of the New Testament, when they had an issue, they couldn't just go to another church and be like, you know what, I'm just going to leave this church and go to another one. It's like so much of the New Testament letters are like they're messy because they have to work it out together.
Matthew
Now
18.
we just go to the next church. And so it's like, how can we just like stay rooted there? It's just like an interesting thought I've had recently.
I think you bring up a great point and a great tension to really just inwardly focus. I mean, I was just literally at a weekend or at a weekend meeting a couple weeks ago with some ladies who are planning an event for about 3,000 plus other women. And the lead pastor's wife is now developing a team of ladies for the first time. And I've never been to the event because we're new on staff there. And I
Mm,
asked our table to like their debriefing last year's, and I was like, I just have a question, like for all these 3 to 500 leaders that you want at the doors, the greeters, the parking teams, selling the merch, the boutique stuff, the drinks and the coffee carts and everything else. Like when you have 3 to 500 leaders who are reaching like 3,500 ladies, how do those women of the church who serve almost every Sunday now participate in this large event? Where do
mm,
they get filled up? Do they
yeah.
have to go to a women's conference out of state to experience something? And how do
Mm,
we host that? And they couldn't answer it. And like maybe it's a tension that we all have to kind of wrestle. But I think even
yeah.
when we're on staff and when I was on staff and not on, quote unquote, people would still be like, "Do you have keys for this? Where does this person go? Oh, you're the young adult pastor. You need to meet so and so. So
Yeah.
you can run in the church, but you can't hide because people
Yeah.
know who you are, and that's not a bad thing." Um, but yeah, I think that's a great question. I don't have an answer for it. I'm just processing a question I had a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago with some ladies at the table, and they're like, "Well, this is what we do. I'm known to serve," and I'm like, "But when can you get filled up? Like,
Mm,
serving fills you up to some point, but at what point can you just receive?"
yeah.
So anyway, maybe I took us off, but oh, go ahead.
My
That's another conversation that's good. Yeah.
I'm like, do I go there? 30-second chase the rabbit trail for a second. I think in how I process that in those conversations personally is I go, I am a part of this community. And so there's going to be moments where I both receive
Come
ministry
on.
from people. So I may need to go forward for prayer
Yes.
myself. And in those times, as a leader, as a pastor, as a shepherd, I'm still a part of the flock. I'm still a
Come
part of the
on.
body of Christ. So I think I need to be willing to let the mask drop, let the guard down to say, I don't care who knows that I need prayer right now
Let's go.
for any reason. I'm going to be willing to receive. And then also, like, just to count it as joy that, like, whoa, there might be some things asked of me where there's responsibilities or whatever, and just go, you know what? What an honor that somebody views me as approachable and that
Yeah.
somehow I can be a conduit. Um,
That's
As a
cool.
form of not
I love
throwing
that.
away your shot
yes, yes.
at
That-
getting some prayer.
That's
So
crazy.
to move to the other side of the room, your side, your library, where I wanted to go is Danny. I found in my life when I've leveled up my reading, it's leveled up my reading.
Leading.
When I've leveled up my reading, it's leveled up my leading.
Let's go.
And of all the people I know, I think you are at the top two, top three amount of, books that you're a voracious leader and reader. And
Mm.
so I want to unpack, do you find that to be similar, that when you've leveled up your reading, how is that impacted? Has it leveled up your leading?
Mm. Yeah, it's funny. Like I do love to read. I mean, obviously, I actually don't think myself as like that ferocious of a reader. I mean, I also don't know like the rhythms that other people read. But like, I mean, I follow some people on Instagram. They read like 200 books a year, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. That's insane. And so, but I do like love to read. But yeah, no, I think it's like there's a direct correlation to that. Obviously leaders are learners. I think leaders have to be readers. In some way, like you're growing an understanding of certain levels of topics and those sort of issues and things. So I love to read. It's been a wonderful journey for me over the past several years of just like every year developing some reading challenges, going after certain books and those sort of things. And as a leader, it's helped me kind of fine tune and really have accuracy towards maybe questions that young adults might be having or anybody in our church that might be having. I'm definitely now the person that most people kind of go to, like, hey, I'm kind of struggling with this topic. Do you have a book in mind? And so now I can just like, boom, here's some resources. Here's a recommendation. And so it's been cool. And then a lot of times, there's certain times where I read like purposely. Like right now, our church, we're about to start like a 30-week series through the book of Romans. And so I have like 4 or 5 different commentaries over the book of Romans. So I'm already starting to like dive into Romans. That's a
Amazing.
little bit more like purposeful reading. And then a lot of times I just read books just to read them. Like I have no kind of currently an agenda for them. But then it's crazy how like at some point it's like our young adult team wants to do a podcast on this topic. I'm like, oh cool, I just read a book on that topic like 2 months ago. Let me pull that back up. Or like I'm going to use it in a sermon. Like I don't realize the purpose for it at that moment. It's just been on my list and I just want to read it. And so that's happened as well too. And so it definitely helps in conversations, definitely helps in content preparation. And it's so beneficial as a leader.
Okay, so when you consume books, you don't even realize that the contribution that you're going to make later is actually taking place as you are unpacking those books, as you're applying those books, those things are kind of coming up. What does it look like for you specifically when you read a book, process it, then apply
Mhm.
it? Are you one of those individuals that like you read a book and you highlight, mark up your pages, or are you like Josiah who can't even bend the book?
Oh man.
I mean, I
I'm
am the
like,
one. I want to hear who you are. Are you a marker
ooh,
upper, or are you like, don't touch this? It has somebody's autograph in it.
oh, I don't know if I can reveal myself too much. This is like weird.
Top
I'm
shelf
like,
books.
I'm both.
Woo!
I don't like destroying the book, even though like there are people who are like, man, like destroy, mark it, curve the pages. Like when I see someone like bend the page, I'm like, ooh, like that's like
Books
feels
are our
icky to me.
friends.
That's what your grandma
but
used to
I
say.
but I do highlight. I highlight, I underline, I do write, I annotate. Um, but and in a weird way, like I have to use the same color highlighter for the whole book. Like that's just like a weird like
Amazing.
thing for me.
This is a part of your
Um,
process, right? You're
yeah,
processing.
and
Okay.
it just looks better for me when it's all highlighted in the same color. Like I love buying used books, like vintage books. I don't know if this store is in Montana, but in Texas we have a store called Half Price Books.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
It's incredible. We don't have one in McAllen, but there's one in San Antonio, Austin. Anytime I'm in town, I spend an hour there easily. But when I buy a used book, I have it has to like not be super marked up. Like if it's crazy marked up, I won't buy it. But some of those are cool because it's like you see people's like process when they read it at some point. I'm actually doing that right now. A little bit of a tangent. My wife, Summer, her grandfather was a pastor his whole life. He's now retired. And I mean, he knows I'm a pastor. And so he actually gave me all of his books. And it's
That's an
been a
inheritance.
crazy, oh my gosh, it's been beautiful to read through some of the books that he read, in the 70s and 80s and things like that. I did realize pastoral books in our current time are all based on leadership. Pastoral books in that time were all based on spiritual disciplines. So it's a very
Yes.
big difference. And so, but to see some of his highlighting, some of his notes has been really cool to see. And so I have deeply appreciated that. But yeah, I'm like a mixture of both. I don't like bending pages, but I love highlighting. And I have like a specific structure of how it's highlighted and how I underline and things like that.
Love it. Okay, then how do you apply it? Like when you read something that you're highlighting, you're not bending the pages, but
Yeah.
it's you have a passion to retain information and not just
Mhm.
regurgitate it, but apply it. How do you apply it and encourage others to do the same?
So here's what brought a lot of peace for me. A lot of times I've had conversations with people who want to read more, and some people, like, your pace of reading is different. Some people read slower, some people read faster, whatever. Um, I don't remember when I kind of thought this, but at one point in my reading journey, I thought, my goal is not to remember and memorize everything in this book. My goal is to reference something from this book. And when I got and grabbed hold of that practice, I don't read to remember, I read to reference. That has brought so much, like, just ease into reading. And so what I do is, my goal in reading a book is not to automatically apply it. My goal is to think, okay, I read this book. Maybe I'm going to apply it later, but I definitely want to reference this later at some point. And so I underline, I highlight, I love to find like the top 10 quotes from this book. And then I write those top 10 quotes somewhere. I use Notion for like my just
Amazing.
organization. And so I'll take those 10 quotes, I'll write down, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but ideally like 10 or so quotes. And sometimes even from that 10, I want to find the best quote that's just really stood out to me. What summarized the entire book. So the best quote, the top 10 quotes, I put them somewhere. And it's just to help me with, one, creating social media content that hopefully is
Yep.
beneficial for people, but also as like a library of space. I use Instagram to like log everything. And so when I finish the book, I'll take a picture of it. Here are my top 10 quotes. Hopefully it's beneficial. It's actually beneficial more for me because then I could just have a space where I just go back and look.
Amazing.
So like right now we're doing a series on prayer at Young Adults, Hallowed Be Your Name, walking through the Lord's Prayer. And so I went back to my Instagram feed and I found, like, man, I read this book on prayer, this book on prayer, and I just swiped through all the different quotes that I had posted. And now that was a way that, okay, now that's reference point, reference point. Now I can apply that in some sort of way to whether content or, application for my personal life. But when I kind of settled on that I don't read to remember, I read to reference, that became so peaceful, and just being able to finish books because I didn't have this pressure that I need to apply everything right now.
Mhm.
There have been certain books where, like, when I read it, I'm like, yo, I need to do something with this right now because it was really impactful for me. And so that's kind of has been my process. I read to reference, not read to remember. And then so I write down notes a lot, and use like the inside cover to kind of annotate my own notes and those sort of things to be able to go back to it as simply as I can. I want to
Of
find the
course.
information whenever I need it.
It's so good.
I take my iPhone note and I'm reading a book that I know you just read that we both got an event, Spark, and I'm almost done. I
Dude,
read it on 2 airplane rides. And,
man, it's
so
great.
I have my different concepts from that book that spoke to me, but then I have a few challenges. And then I quote, hey, page this, page that. So,
Yeah.
and then, but believe it or not, like I actually do highlight, mark up certain
Oh,
books.
he doesn't like when I do it to
And,
his book. Look out, people.
and,
He was
Oh
like,
yeah,
that
no,
has
100%.
somebody's message. They wrote that out to
Dude.
me.
and,
If
but
somebody asks to borrow a book, I please do not highlight in it. Like, it's, yeah, you can read it.
I
Just
thought it was ours. What's
no, it
oh,
is. It
that's
really
true.
is.
Yeah,
And
you should let her highlight,
I, I,
or
get
maybe
your
not
own
someone else.
copy?
I receive it. So, but okay, you know what? I'd love to. You're a fantastic, Danny, by the way, Instagram follow if somebody
Mm,
does want to level up their leading and level up their reading. But let's do a collab post. Here's
yeah.
the invite. We're gonna invite you to collab real time right now. We'll screenshot it later. But if you had to pick your top 7 or so
Mm,
books for young leaders, and we can make it a carousel, invite to
yeah.
collab, bless the
I
world
got
of
you.
young leaders. But what would be, and you can lean more towards spiritual formation if you want, but
Yeah.
what are your non-negotiable, like, hey, young leaders, you've got to read these?
So yeah, to like, you had asked this question ahead of time. Like, I knew that you were going to ask this question. You said top 7. Can I give you 12?
Ooh,
Hey, that works. Micah, is that
Okay,
what?
rapid fire. I'm ready.
A challenge that I love to bring for, especially for new readers, is like read a book a month. Like you can read a book a month. You
Let's
can read a
go.
book a week, but at minimum
I
you
don't
can read
think
a
I
book a
can.
month. A book a month, you got
Yes, you
this.
can.
I get so
If
bored.
No, 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 not
if,
true.
if you
I'm
read
being
10 minutes a
challenged right now.
day, you can easily read a book a month.
Wait
And
till you
so
have 3 children. No.
Oh, 100%. Now at this point, I do have to wake up like at 5 a.m. to read, which I do both love and is very difficult, but I do like
God
that.
bless you.
And so it's coffee is my biggest friend. But yeah, so I want to give 12 if that's okay.
Okay.
And I actually have them categorized a little bit. So like theology, I think one of the greatest books that every Christian should read is a book called Knowing God by J.I. Packer.
Mm,
Just an incredible breakdown of who God is. And so I love that book. I'll say that one. Reason for God by Tim Keller.
yes.
A little bit older, but just apologetics. Answers a lot of like this was written, man, probably like early 2000s. So weird to say like 20 years ago. But a lot of the questions that they go after when it comes to like cultural tough topics and how that relates to Christianity and spirituality, they still are very vital today. So I love that really as a start too for like the topic around apologetics is reason for God. And this is a recent one. I read a book called No More Boring Bible Study by Faith Womack. Incredible read. I mean, I went to Bible school, so like I got the breakdown of like biblical hermeneutics and how to study the Bible, biblical interpretation. I told her, I said, man, this is a great, like, really good way of bringing all those like theological concepts that someone would learn in Bible school to like really simplify it to like the common reader. And so I loved her breakdown on No More Boring Bible Study, how to digest the Bible, study the Bible, how it's broken down, to help understand the Bible as like one centralized story and how can you study it together. So I'd recommend those three for theology. Spiritual disciplines. I reread this book every year, and I've done that since college. And that's Celebration of Discipline by Richard Foster.
Mm,
It has 9 spiritual discipline practices based on 3 different areas, like outward discipline, inward, upward. And I love reading that book really at the start of the year to kind of center my focus back on him. I think that's great. And so then you read about different spiritual disciplines and then you pick one and then practice it. But Celebration of Discipline, Richard Foster. Spiritual Disciplines, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, John Mark Comer, very popular book right now. But I just think it's a good challenge and a good read to understand a historical practice of Sabbath in a modern context, and he does a really good job of kind of bringing that together. The Power of Prayer by R.A. Torrey. That's one of those that Summer's grandpa gave me. And I'm learning R.A. Torrey was kind of like probably the John Mark Comer of that time.
let's go.
Just like crazy on spiritual disciplines, specifically when it comes to prayer. That dude was a prayer warrior. And lastly, Anonymous by Alicia Britt Jolie.
Underscore that
Incredible
one.
read. I think every young adult, like
Yep.
young adult leader, everybody who feels a call to ministry, you should probably read the book Anonymous. Just
Amen.
it's really short. It's
Agree.
insanely good. So that's spiritual disciplines. Leadership. Got a couple books here. One, Canoeing the Mountains by Todd Bolsinger. Incredible read. It's about the journey of Lewis and Clark, and they're doing like the journey through like the going west in America, discovering our country. And they didn't. The whole idea of the story is they didn't realize that when they were canoeing that they were going to come across a mountain range, and so they were like, "What do we do?" And Todd Bolsinger does a really good job of like, how do you practice leadership when you come across the unexpected? One of the really good books on leadership. Good to Great, Jim Collins.
Yes.
Just kind of in the title, how do you take something good, make it great? It's a really good leadership book. We some of us on staff read that together. I like this one for communicating. If you're a young leader and you want to grow as a communicator, one of the most impactful books for me was Communicating for a Change by Andy Stanley.
Yes, sir.
How do you boil down your content to one centralized point? That's a really cool challenge for me. This is one of these 2 next books are like 2 of the books that when I read it, I applied it. One is At Your Best by Carrie Newhoff.
Yes.
Really good at like helping you identify like, all right, this is your day or this is your week. Every one of us has red zones, yellow zones, and green zones. You have to figure out what time of day are your zones, and then that's how you operate. And so, like for me, my green zone is early in the morning, like 5 a.m. to like 7:30, 8 a.m. At that point, I got to take little man to school. But that's when I read my best. That's when I think my best. I want to do my focus time in my green zone. Um, and you don't do reading, writing, whatever it is that you do, like that you want to do personally, you don't do that obviously in your red zone because you're not thinking well. And so identify your zones and what you can do to operate in those zones. I made all of our interns read that book. And the next one is Atomic Habits, James Clear. Obviously, like man, it's very, very popular book on building habits. One of the best things there is habit stacking. Is
Yes.
if you want to create a habit, you stack it on top of a habit that you currently already do. That way, you're now kind of stacking those together. So those are the 12. And sorry, I'm gonna give you two more. Go deeper. Like read a book of the month, but here's your even go deeper challenge. Read one biography a year at
Mm,
minimum. Pick any biography. Like I just think biographies, stories of people are just so beautiful. I have my favorite ones. I'll just toss them out, but pick any biography. Shoe Dog is an incredible read. It's the story
yeah.
of Nike, Phil Knight.
Yeah. Phil Knight.
I love that one. I have one here. Tim Keller's one of my favorites. But Tim Keller, his biography by Colin Hanson, is just an incredible read. I'm missing out on the name, but the biography of Eugene Peterson, incredible read. Eugene Peterson, who wrote The Message. Man, that guy was just a very, very beautiful person. And
Seriously.
so diving into like his rhythms and things like that as a pastor is just really beautiful to read. But yeah, just pick any biography, read a biography a year. And then secondly, this is a bigger challenge. Read a systematic theology a year. To unpack that a little bit if we have time. Um, I think early, like maybe like 90s, 2000s, it was a really popular thing for people who were called to ministry to go to seminary. You go to 4 years of school, Bible school, you're learning all this biblical content. I think that's kind of going away a little bit. And the
Totally.
bigger thing that ministers want to do is they want ministry experience. They want to be interns in churches. They want to start serving right away. And there's not really that foundation of biblical theology because they're doing internships and they're doing experiences, which they're really good. Like I think that's really, really helpful. Like we do that at our church. But I do think we're missing out on people who are going to seminary, and I don't know what's going to happen in 10, 20 years down the road of that. And so I love challenging people to read a systematic theology. It's a big book. It's 4, 5, 600 pages. But it dives into every single theological topic, into eschatology, ecclesiology, soteriology, Christology, every pneumatology, like all
Yeah.
those like theological concepts, the study of the church, study of life, study of sin, the study of Jesus, the Trinity, everything, and it kind of breaks it down. And so I love reading a systematic theology a year. I take all year to read it. It's a big book, but it's just a really good thing to walk through and just to refresh of what you truly want to believe in. And so those are my two on top of the bucket.
Hey.
Yeah, I love
14
it.
books.
Oh my
The
God.
the Wrangle challenge I wrote down.
Hey, we're gonna challenge. Hey, together.
I know. Those are all your books that you recommended.
I
Crazy.
did too. This is how
I'm
I
old school.
I went iPhone on it and we're
Mhm.
ready to
Oh
post it.
yeah,
But like, bro, I think together we want to challenge leaders to raise the bar and to
yeah.
go deeper and to grow. I love that. Micah, is if you could only recommend one. Danny got it went from 7 to 12 to 14. That was amazing. Double
It's
portion. Hey, and
that is
12
double.
if you could recommend only one that he didn't list, what would it be?
Oh, come on.
Okay, this is one that I think changed my leadership and my heart for ministry is How to Lead When You're Not in Charge by Clay
Woo!
Scroggins.
It's very good.
That's on my list.
I literally
I'm
feel
writing it
like
down.
I wish it was written like 10 years earlier
Same.
just because of how old I was, what I was doing. But I mean, holy cow. Like that one like wrecked me in the best way possible. And it's an easy read, but it's like it challenges your motives, it challenges your submission to leadership, it
Mhm.
challenges your thinking and your willingness to serve and why do you serve and the role that God's giving you. And I don't know, like I found that to be one of the most helpful books early. I wish it was just written earlier. Like
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
do. But our interns, I even said we have 3 interns right now. I said, you will read this book and we're
Yep.
going to talk about it
Amen.
every single Tuesday. And I want to hear
Let's
what your
go.
thoughts are. Um, yeah. So, I
Love
mean, what
that.
is one would you say,
Okay.
Josiah?
I'll
You
do
are you got 14 too?
no, no, no.
He probably
Like
does.
four.
He really.
But my lists are public. I made
Yeah.
my lists, recommended them. You could check them out. But
I need to
here's
do that.
here's what I would say. I would say a book that I've reread kind of to one. So this is my old one, is Spiritual Leadership by J. Oswald Sanders.
Dude, I read that during my Sabbath.
Yep.
Yeah,
Real leaders are in
powerful.
short supply. That's one that I've
Yeah,
gone back to, marked up. It's probably the
yeah.
most beat up since college. The new book that maybe has had a similar to Alicia Britt Chole impact is Lead with Prayer by Ryan
Oh,
Skoog.
yeah.
Oh, so part of how I develop reading recommendations is I ask trusted friends to like recommend something, and that's one that's on my list because you recommended it, so I need to read it.
Yep. And then,
Yeah.
So good.
okay, last one, because what you said stood out to me so much. Modern day church pastors, we focus on leadership. The
Hmm.
old format was focusing on spiritual formation
Yeah,
and disciplines and such. And I would say Ordering Your Private World, Gordon MacDonald.
yeah,
That's
so
one
good.
that every time I read it, I'm like, oh, okay,
Reels you back in.
it does. It
Yeah,
does.
come on,
So there you
love
go.
that.
There you go.
So good. I will throw out this practice. So kind of like one of my reading practices to help encourage people because maybe as you're hearing this, you're like, yeah, a book a month. I don't know if I can do that. Maybe I could
That's
do a
me
book
right
You
now, just
every
so
you
other
you
can.
know,
month. Yeah.
audience.
You can,
Yeah,
Randall.
you
That's me.
yeah, you
No.
100% can. I saw these stats. I'll read it. I'll read them out to us really quick. That I just thought it challenged me a little bit. So my reading goal is 30 minutes a day, which is it's probably like a lot. Sometimes that's 30 minutes in one sitting. Sometimes that's like split up throughout the day, depending on my day schedule, whatever. Sometimes I don't read in a day, but then on a Saturday morning I have a lot more time, so I'll read for like an hour if I wake up really early or something like that. So I'll kind of try to supplement that. But I saw this. The average person can read 225 words per minute, which then the average book is 80,000 words, which is about 300 pages. That means if you read 30 minutes per day, you can knock out 2 to 3 books a month, completing 30 books in the year. And so if you take 30 minutes, like you can do that. If you cut that in half, then you can read 15 books in a year. So take the 14 that we presented and kind of go from there. But one thing I do as a really like practice that has helped me, I'll take a book like this, and then I'll go to the end, and there's this book has 266 pages. So then I try to challenge myself. I want to finish this book, let's say in 7 days. I'm going to take 266 divided by seven, and then I'm going to take a little tab, and I'm just going to put that at every tab. And then my goal is if I want to finish this book in 7 days, every day I'm just going to get to a tab, get to a tab, get to a tab, and that's kind of my goal. And I know for some people it's like, well, how are you retaining information? I go back. My goal is not to retain. My goal is to reference. So I'm aggressively highlighting, underlining, writing things down on the side as I get to that tab. And some like 7 days is pretty quick, but sometimes it's 10 days or 20 days depending on the size of the book. But I would say like if it's a regular size 250 to 300 page book, man, divide that by 30 days, a whole month, and then put a tab and just get to a tab each day. And that visual challenge of getting to a colored tab has been helpful for me to finish a book. And so that's kind of how I do it.
I think that's what I needed to know that I can do it because even when I'm running a race, I'm like, I just need to get to that person. I passed that person. Now I need to get to
There you
that
go.
person. I'm going to pass
There it
that
is.
person. Okay,
Don't
the
be the
color
person that you
tabs,
get passed up. Yeah.
get a good cup of coffee, get your tabs out, start reading.
I'm
That is
excited.
important too, of having the space. Like have your
Yes.
your quiet space if you can. Yeah.
Public commitment here. You can hold me to it. I can't wait for the day that you write a book. I will be your
Ooh.
first
Dude.
pre-order.
Oh man.
Um,
We'll
That'd
endorse
be
it.
that'd be gorgeous. That's a dream. Dude, I did read though one time Mark Batterson.
yes,
He said I don't remember if it was 1,000 or 3,000. I think it was
yeah.
3,000. He said he read 3,000 books before he wrote a book, and I was like, "Oh my, like that is so many books to read." So I was
You're
like, "I got a lot to
Library.
go."
you're
But
no, you're well on your way.
that
And
was a cool
I've
challenge, but
I've
one
learned
day.
so much from him even recently. I went to his book writers workshop.
Mhm.
Oh
Probably
wow.
haven't talked about it much, but he said so many helpful things, among which was he shared that present day he writes about a book a year, and
Crazy.
so he's done like 25.
Hmm.
And I read most of what he writes, and
Yeah,
but
he's great.
he said this. He goes, he now writes shorter chapters for that very reason that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
just both talked about, the tabs. And so his books are roughly the same size, but he does it to internally encourage kind of like not click-through rate, but finish
You
rate.
did it.
Because it's like you have to write when you're at his level for the reader's benefit and
Yeah.
pleasure and adding value to them. And so helping them cognitively, even subconsciously think like,
Yeah.
oh, I read a chapter, like I'm gonna keep going.
But if they don't have
hmm
me in the first chapter, I'm like, I'm done. I don't care. But that's
He calls
and
that
that's
and
terrible.
and
organizing metaphor.
that's okay. Like what you just said, Micah, is perfectly okay. There's a book that's kind of funny, but it's called How to Read a Book, that I had to read in college, and
Hook, line, and sinker. Get me.
it basically tells you, like, in the first 5 minutes you should be able to identify the purpose of this book, what's going to talk about, if you should continue reading it, if you're writing a paper, if it's beneficial for your paper. Otherwise you're just wasting your time. And so it's definitely okay to like bring the ease of like, I'm not going to finish this book because I don't think it's beneficial for me, and
There's
that's
some
like
books I
totally
pick
fine.
up and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, why are they telling me so many stories? I'm like, I just want like, give me the meat. Like,
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, what I do sometimes too is I just kind of skim through some of that stuff, just to get to like where I know I want to
You're
go.
probably a speed reader
Um,
though, aren't you?
yeah. Oh, 100%. There's actually like a TikTok trend right now that came across my TikTok of like the average person can read this and this, and it gets faster and faster. But the challenge is to stay attentive to the reading of that TikTok. And it's just like words coming up on a screen. And so Summer and I were like looking at those the other day, and I was like, I want to see how far you can go to keep your attention. That was actually like
I
a
bet
fun
you did
thing.
it.
But yeah,
Date night
it's cool.
exercises. Speed reading with TikTok. We're never getting old then.
Speed reading. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But yo, you've been on the show before, so Danny, you know part of our format. One of the things that we do to close is 5 final thoughts, 5
Mm,
questions, 5 and 5 rapid fire. Are you ready if we go there?
come on, let's go.
Okay, question number 1. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received. Our lead pastor tells us this at every staff meeting. It's one of the one of the greatest things that he shows how he's a shepherd, into our staff. And the advice is this: is lead out of your marriage. He never wants us to sacrifice our marriage for the altar of ministry, as we always tells us. And to have a pastor who cares about our home life is so like fruitful for us to really succeed in ministry too. So lead out of your marriage is huge. To know that it's okay if I, maybe go home early one day because I stayed late, on a Tuesday night for young adults, just to be home a little bit more present and stuff like that. So things like that. And so lead out of your marriage has been one of the best advice I've ever had as a minister.
That's good.
This is urine 5 and 5, so I'm sensitive with chiming in, but I just watched a podcast yesterday, and it was Carl Lentz on Carrie Newhoff's show.
Mm,
And
need
you
to watch
know
it.
what you just said there is so important. And I was thinking about the amount of young leaders who I know who uproot their lives, their families, and they go to move their life across the country to work for
Yeah.
somebody and to serve at a church. And I'm thinking, like, if we don't have that approach and those types of conversations that go both ways of like, hey, maybe before I move somewhere, I need to ask you a few
Pointed
probing
question.
questions to see if
Yeah.
this is the right type of environment. Like, are you living right?
Yeah.
And then I would welcome that feedback this way. But it's like, if we're gonna commit our lives to this, like, are we who we say that we are, and are we living
hmm
right? And does, like, our marriages and families a priority? So back
Come
to
on.
you.
Mm.
Why do you believe young adult ministry is so vital?
Oh man, they're in a crazy season of growth. A lot of questions that young adults are processing. What am I going to do with my life? What degree plan? What career path? Who am I going to date? Who am I going to marry? Where am I going to live? Like a lot of questions and really like just unknown future realities. And I think young adult ministry is so vital because as they're processing all that, they're also trying to figure out what they actually believe. Maybe some grew up in church and they were told to believe in Jesus. Do I actually believe in this Jesus that everybody here is worshiping? Or maybe they have no belief in God at all, but they're plugging into community. So our goal with BTYA and why we believe in yoga ministry is we want to help you be faithful to Jesus as you go about the craziness of our culture. And as you have to make really difficult decisions, we don't want you to journey alone in that. So how can we help you be faithful to Jesus while you're on this journey? It's a crucial season, a formative season.
So good. Okay, here's the flip the script here. If you could ask Josiah and myself any question, what would you want to ask us today? You get to be the
I've been
host.
I've been waiting for this one. Uh, how do we go from two versus one to now man to man when it comes to parenting?
Oh,
Because we have
fun.
baby number two on the way. So now it's like, okay, now what does that look like? A parenting strategy for two kids.
Number one, I would say as a marriage, you are on the same team.
Let's go.
Don't let the loudest voice in the room control that.
Ooh, I love that so much. That's good.
The second thing is include your oldest as much as you can in the process.
Come on.
Whether that's helping. When we came home from the hospital, one of the best advices we received was say, "Hey, when you come from home from the hospital with your new baby in your hands, say and get a gift for the other kids or other child in the house from
Mm,
the baby." As obviously, we're welcoming the baby in, but that baby is giving that other child a gift, whatever it is. It could be a stuffed
wow.
animal, it could be something that's special and near and dear to your son's heart. I mean, it could be anything.
A
And
monster
that
truck.
changes the dynamic in the
Yes.
room because what you don't realize as a parent, you know, but you don't realize the effect of it is,
Their survival is like threatened. They're
yeah,
sharing you
Yeah.
basically.
yeah. So they realize
Yeah.
it's not just me and mom and dad anymore. There's a fourth. It's kind of like a Bible study, I would say. The moment you take somebody and put
Yeah.
somebody new in your Bible study, your connect group,
Yeah.
Changes
the whole
dynamic.
dynamic changes and everybody's like on guard because like, who's this new person? What's their testimony?
Yeah.
Can I trust them? And those I think are
Right.
actually questions kids have without knowing they have them,
That's so
especially when you
good.
have youngers, when you're having your second and third. What would you say, Josiah?
Three rapid fire. Number one, and I get this from Sandra Stanley, who told Andy, "You're not a babysitter, you're a dad."
Come on.
And so that's number one. Number two is when you can serve, in your case, Summer, you have served the child. And
Mm,
right out of the womb, like the baby's going to be a little bit more dependent on her. But if you can let Summer have a nap, if you can let
yeah.
her have a shower, if you like,
100%.
if her needs are served, and you and little man, like you go to serve, or like, I think that
Mm,
those things early on are huge. And then, still the one-on-one time, like maybe it's you and Jaden, like, hey, we're gonna go for a drive, we're gonna go pick up flowers, or, you know, the kids, and as your newest baby Wrangle will one day be a part of the picture, even as they grow, you'll get one-on-one time with them as well. And so
yeah.
I think that those one-on-one, like for me, some of the best time is one-on-one time on a drive or a daddy-daughter date. The kids just love that.
And date
That's
nights
so
still
good.
stay on the calendar with your wife, even
Amen.
with
Amen.
kids.
Yeah.
And it's
Let's
hard
go.
because you're like, I don't want to leave my kid for an hour. I'm like, you can leave your kid for an hour. It'll be okay.
Oh,
You
yeah.
wait till they go to bed, you order food in and have it delivered. Like the intentionality in pursuit, I think is still important, even postpartum. I mean, I can speak into that
Yeah.
process.
Back to you,
Uh,
as like clearly marriage, parenting, reading, but what's maybe one hobby or sports team that you follow for fun?
I am a New England Patriot fan, so we went from thinking we were going to be like an 8-9 season to being in the Super Bowl. So I was like, "Whoa!" Like I did not
Hello.
expect this. Super Bowl was not fun, but that's okay. But it was like this is a cool trajectory. Year one coach,
Yeah.
year two quarterback, and a little bit of a future ahead of us. That hopefully some little excitement. They did not really add anything outside of defense to their team during free agency, and but that's just the Patriot way, you know. And so yeah, that was a fun time. And at the timing of this recording, it is March Madness, and so I love the March Madness tournament. That's always a fun. I don't have any like college teams that I really really root for, but I love just like the competition of March Madness is always
It's
a fun
nuts
time.
this year.
okay, did you
Dude,
guys see
yeah,
what was it, the Illinois game? What we watched the game.
dude, yeah.
Oh, we watched it
Tanner,
was
Tyler Tanner's team, the
yeah,
brain fart,
he was with
like that grayish silvery
I
flag.
recognize the name, but I don't know the
Why
team
am I
either.
having a dumb attack? Anyway, that was the
Quick
best.
Google,
That was like
trying.
literally the
man.
best game that I've watched so far, and it came down to the buzzer beater, like, and it went in from like
It,
just a half.
it was Vanderbilt, Nebraska,
Felt
and it was
Oh
back
yeah,
and forth, and then
it was intense.
it was like 74-72, 2 seconds left. They inbound the ball, and he shoots it, and he has 27 points. He's had the game of his life, and
Oh,
he's
he missed
dunking
it.
on people, and it
Oh
went in and
man,
rolled out.
Well, he's
dude.
only
Yeah,
he's a sophomore. He
I
still
saw a
hasn't
lot of
played
people
really.
sharing like there was a when he steal that shot, like the ball is like midway through the rim, and it's like this did not go in. It's like, oh, brutal,
I
Yep.
know. But he still has two
brutal,
more years
man.
in him if he doesn't get picked up. But I'm like, you're 6 feet, you're probably 170 pounds, you're
Oh, he'll
dunking
be
it,
fine.
and you're a
Yeah,
sophomore.
he'll be all right. Yeah,
Fun to
Like,
he's
watch.
got
look at you're
good
14. I'm
future.
like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I'm old.
He's got a future.
Oh, anyway,
yeah.
March Madness has been fun for us too. Okay, fifth
Oh,
and
we
final
love it.
question. If you could leave the listener with one piece of encouragement, what would you want to leave them with today?
Oh, I mean, when it comes to this topic, remind yourself that as a leader, one of the most beautiful ways you can grow is be a reader. And so I encourage you, give yourself a simple next step challenge. Don't overwhelm yourself. If you're not currently a reader, don't be like, you know what, I'm gonna read a book a week and let's go after this. That might feel overwhelming. But just challenge, like, what is a book a month? What could that look like? How can you? I always say we prioritize what's important. And so if you want reading to be important in your life, then literally put it on your calendar, like schedule it, block it out. I do this really fun thing with my admin because my admin controls my calendar. Is when I want to have a focus time, I use the headphone emoji on my calendar. And so when she
Genius.
sees that, she knows like I'm studying or reading or doing something. She's not
Genius.
gonna Teams me or she's not gonna schedule a meeting during that time. So on Sunday night, I'll go in and put like those focus moments throughout the week. Not long, like it's not like I'm focusing for 5 hours. It's like I need these 30 minutes to like lock in for a little bit. And so she knows to like work around that. But yeah, like really, if you're going to prioritize this, if it's important to you, put it on your calendar, put it on your schedule, and then just create a list. Like whether it's the list that we just gave you, or it's whatever list you want to create. Then just lay out here are the 12 books I want to go after, and then just knock them out one at a time.
It's called the Wrangle Challenge. I made that up. I'm
So
accepting
good.
the Wrangle Challenge, and I'm going to go through this book. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to find a quiet corner.
But you're right, Danny. It reminds me a little bit of like fasting. And so
Hmm.
like young adults, I love them and sometimes they're so passionate and I never want to dial that down. And it's like
Yeah.
out of the gate, 22 years old, never fasted, and they're like, I'm gonna do a 40-day fast. And it's like, brother,
Mm.
how about like let's start
40
with
days.
one meal or one
Yeah.
day, and
40
Weekend.
and
minutes.
then you build on that, and then you can
Yeah.
talk about a weekend, or then you could talk about, but I think this thing called life is one step at a time, one day at a
Yeah.
time,
Mhm.
one book at a time, one challenge at a time.
I used to
Your attitude.
hate reading. Like, I'll share this last story. I all through high school, even early college, did not like reading at all. I took an American literature college course in college, and that class we had no tests, no exams, no quizzes, no papers. And I was like, how are we gonna like? When I looked at the syllabus, I was like, what's our grade? Our grade was we read a book, we had to show up to class and talk about it. If you didn't talk, you failed. And I was like, I have to read, otherwise I'm gonna fail. Like I can't just like, try to take this quiz and hope that I pass. Like you just have to read and talk. That was really the journey for me to like
Wow.
start enjoying reading.
Wow.
And I had just become a Christian. I became a Christian later on in my life, 17 years old. So my senior year entering college. So then I started picking up books that were probably way out of my league, like Mere Christianity. I was like, I don't know what this guy's saying. Um, but then that rhythm of reading started to grow a lot. And then when I really dialed it into like biblical theology, something I was
Yeah.
passionate about, it just blossomed, man. And so I hated reading, and then it just kind of grew into something I now really enjoy.
Okay, my one last metaphor is it's kind of like running. One of my best friends
Yeah,
used to hate running, and now he's running like marathons on every continent. And
bless him.
so if
Continent,
you
that's crazy.
Literally
serious,
7
and so
continents in
like
7 days.
just because you don't like something now or find enjoyment in running or reading or fasting for that matter, hey,
Go back to your spiritual disciplines, right?
Yeah,
let's
it's
go.
a muscle you can train to grow.
I
Yeah,
know.
Danny,
Awesome.
we're grateful for you, man.
dude, enjoy this so much. Thank you guys.
Such a fun conversation. This is Young Adults Today podcast. My, fam. It's Josiah with Young Adults Today podcast. And we just had an incredible month of March, not only on the podcast here, but also we had an amazing time gathering for the Minnesota Young Adults Today Leader Conference. And we had leaders join us from other states too, of course. But this was a time where we heard from Dr. Darnell Williams, who you'll hear on the show soon. But It was an amazing time to hear from President Williams, from Pastor Nate Roosh, from different panels of young adult pastors. Of course, one of my favorite pictures, I'll see if I can insert a clip here, but we had one of the newest young adult pastors, Turbo, has been in his role 2 weeks, found himself at the conference, and one of the veterans who's spent the better part of a decade in young adult ministry drew on the whiteboard and on a giant 3M sticky note just some of the things, the target, the bullseye, the discipleship pathway for young adult ministry. And I think that's just so encouraging, guys, to see how many new young adult ministries are starting, relaunching, or being strengthened right now is astounding. Also, to have Steph MacDonald lead us in worship into the presence of God, Lily Peck and a team, it was amazing. And still, I'm processing or trying to process the amazing leaders who gathered together and all that God did. So thanks so much for praying, for attending, for joining. Stay tuned for what's next.